This podcast is sponsored by nobody.
Hey everybody, this is Tracy Shaffer, Constance in Trading Places, and you're listening to Tommy Throwback Kovac on Splat from the Past. And just like Constance, Tommy will fulfill your fucking needs.
Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming back my good friend Tracy Shaffer, who played Constance in Trading Places, celebrating its 40th anniversary. Not only are we going to talk a little bit more about that movie, but also we're going to nerd out on movies, TV shows, music of our youth. You know, the work that drove us as artists, the stuff that influenced us. I've been wanting to do shows like this for a while. I'm going to do a lot more of these all the way into, next year. And I think it's important to talk about what influenced us, and why we do what we do as artists. I thought this was a great idea, and she's just, one of many. And I'm going to be doing these shows with. It's going to be a great conversation. I just love and adore Tracy. She is the best, no filter, and just a compassionate sweetheart. I just love her. It's going to be a great conversation. It's December 2nd, the second show of Christmas December, and it's going to be an excellent, excellent month. Just you wait. So yeah, here is my new interview with Tracy Shaffer. So, let's dive right in. Do you remember the first movie that had an impact on you?
It was either Wizard of Oz or Mary Martin's Peter Pan.
Oh, love it. Love it.
And or maybe when I was really little, I was at a friend's house, my parents' friend's house. They were babysitting, and I watched Godzilla, and I think I was about 2, and they were all laughing because I didn't think it was scary. But, when you're 2, you don't know.
Yeah, Wizard of Oz was one of the early movies that had an impact on me, too. And not long after I had my vaccine shots at 4, that was the beginning of my obsessive-compulsive behavior to imitate what I saw on TV. I started singing, if I only had a brain or if I only had a heart, and that's where my personality was formed.
Oh, that's wild. You know what's interesting?
Uh-huh.
When I first saw it on television and everything...
Uh-huh.
We didn't have a color... There was no color TV.
Right.
So, being that generation apart, there's some things in there that are like, oh, wow, yeah, I didn't even remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, because you guys had those small TVs that were black and white. There was no cable yet, no VHS, and you watched the $1 million movie.
Cable?
Yeah.
There wasn't color TV. Everything was still, cable. We didn't even, I remember when cable started and people were like, oh yeah, no, we'll never be watching the cable. Nobody will pay for TV.
Yeah.
The Lakers started that. Did you see that HBO show, Winning Time?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's John C. Reilly. The only thing I don't like is that HBO canceled it before the 3rd season.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't renew it, and so the 3rd season, which would have been the three-peat,
right?
They canceled it. And you're like, are you kidding me? We haven't got Magic Doesn't Have AIDS yet.
Uh-huh.
Just all this stuff that was, and of course, growing up in LA, I was in LA by the time they were three-peating it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I remember Back to the Future for
anyway,
me. Back to the Future for me.
Also,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but it shows how Jerry Buss really was a proponent of cable TV.
Right.
And as it was coming up, and everybody else was saying, "Oh, people are never going to pay for TV," and look what happened.
Yeah, my mom worked for the cable company for over 30 years. You know, we got free cable in the house, and you know that's where my love for film and television really went into overdrive. You know, but yeah, like the first movie that seriously impacted me was Back to the Future. I think it was, you know, just, yeah, I've always had that fantasy of going back in time and seeing my parents in high school. And I think it's such a well-made movie. It has great actors, great soundtrack. It has every genre of movies that they pay homage to in it. It's a fantastic movie. And
you want to know something?
I've
never seen Back to the Future.
You should. One of your good friends is in it.
A couple of my good friends are in it.
Lisa Freeman.
Yeah. So what's wild is I have not seen so many classic 80s movies.
Yeah.
And I guess during the pandemic I watched Dirty Dancing for the first time.
Oh God.
And I was talking to a friend and she goes, "You haven't seen Dirty Dancing?" And I said, "No." And she goes, "What were you doing in the 80s? And I said, "Well, instead of like watching the shows that John Hughes was making, you know, shows I could have gotten cast in, I was watching, you know, foreign films and Lena Wertmuller and Truffaut and, you know, thinking I was fancy."
Yeah.
But that's all right. That's okay. I saw a lot of good foreign films.
Yeah.
And now, look, I can still watch Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah. It is just so fantastic. You know, I like the sequels, but the first one will always be just a masterpiece to me. As much as I like the sequels, I wish they had never been made because they were made way too long after the first. You know, 4 or 5 years. And Michael J. Fox got older, and they just broke a lot of continuity and stuff. But the original is a masterpiece.
Yep. So I've heard.
Yeah,
I've heard.
Did your dad ever take you to the set of his movies he worked on?
Oh, all the time.
All
the time. I went to, when I was little, when I was young, I would go a lot of times to the wrap parties of TV shows and stuff, and like Medical Center and whatever else was on. And I would go watch things be filmed a lot.
Right.
I watched a lot of things be filmed. And then when I got a little bit older, like over 18, and not because I was over 18, but because I was living closer to the studio, we would go to lunch at MGM every Friday. And then afterward, I would just go watch whatever was being made. Except, I don't know if I told you the story about one time I went and Dad goes, "Hey, listen, after lunch, there's a movie being made with Shirley MacLaine and Peter Sellers.
Right.
And why don't you, plan on coming and watching it?" So I go and we eat, and it's all super fun. And then I go on the set. And this guy comes rushing up to me, and he's like, "What are you doing? Who are you? Who are you? What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I'm Bob Schaefer's daughter, like I come here all the time. I'm always here."
Yeah.
And he goes, "I need you." And he goes, "Come with me." And he made me step out of the sound stage. And he said, you can't be on set." And I go, "Why?" He said, "Because I was wearing 80s, I think. I was wearing purple painter pants with my green sweatshirt. And Peter Sellers had a ban on both of those colors." He goes, "Look, we can't have greenery. We can't have all the motorhomes, everything." He goes, "It's not you. But if you want to change your clothes, you can come back." I was like, God, these actor types are crazy.
What movie genre did you gravitate toward the most?
what age?
At any age.
Probably foreign films.
Did you watch, like, Ingmar Bergman?
Oh, all of Bergman, all of Wertmuller, all of Truffaut.
Fellini?
All of Fellini, all of Bertolucci. So when I went to school in New York, there was the Carnegie Cinema. And it was right around the corner from the Adler Institute, or the Adler Studio. And so after class, I just walk over there, and I think their movies, in the matinee were like $2 or something.
Right.
So it was good.
Yeah, what was it about the foreign films that you liked as opposed to the American films?
Well, in the early 80s, what we had a lot of was Star Wars and Raiders and these big, smashy kind of guy films.
Right.
And they didn't address the human condition particularly. They were wonderful fables.
Right.
But the themes of life and existentialism and meaning and love and the nature of love and passion, those were really profound for me, because that's what I was studying. Like Stella always said, you're not up here to perform. The theater doesn't want you or need you.
Right.
What you're here to do is express the human condition.
Right.
So, and I found that was there. And it's not that, they were good, great classic films. Certainly the Godfather series expressed the human condition beautifully.
Oh, yeah.
But, and it was funny because I had all these friends doing Weird Science and Back to the Future and Some Kind of Wonderful and Breakfast Club, and
right.
I would go if they got me a seat for the premiere. I would go. Oh, also too, there was a time that this is kind of getting a little mixed up. There was a time when I went back to LA in the mid '80s that I had my Screen Actors Guild screenings. I had Tuesday night, MGM had screenings, so I saw my dad on Tuesday night and on Friday for lunch. Right. So we would go see things there before they were released. And then I had friends who had Writers Guild screenings. And my brother and I would go every Friday to Century City to the first show of something, whatever was opening that weekend. So I was usually seeing 3 movies a week, either through my brother, my dad, and then the union screening. So there was I was seeing a lot then. But I am the kind of person that when people say, remember that scene in blah, I'm like, no, I don't. Sorry. I don't remember any scenes. I'm totally in it when I'm in it. And then when I leave, I can't remember much of it. I'm just like, so. Yeah, so I used to see a lot.
My parents started taking me to the drive-in when I was 2, and that ended when I was about 3.5, because I was always either falling asleep and not, staying awake for the whole movie, or I was just getting out of the car and wandering off and, like, knocking on, like, windshields of people's cars.
Oh, the drive-ins, that's another good thing that was a blast. Was the drive-in. I remember seeing a lot of Disney movies at the drive-ins when I was little. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and all that stuff. And then when I was about, I don't even know how old I was, but young. When did The Graduate come out?
Oh, 67.
I was yeah, okay, so I'm 9 and 9 or 10. I'm 9. And we went to the drive-in, and my mom and her friend, and they took me and I don't know who it was, maybe my mom and my brother, and they took my mom thought I would be asleep after the first movie.
Right.
And of course, I fell asleep, and then I woke right up in the stripper part, and my mom was mortified.
That's Lady Miller. I've interviewed her.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah, I love The Graduate. That's like in my top 10 of my favorite movies of all time.
I got to do the play. That was really fun.
Oh, who'd you play?
Mrs. Robinson.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It was super fun. It was super fun. And it was interesting to explore the role as the role, because of course you can't do what Anne Bancroft did, because you've got to find your own level of genius or storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And it was super interesting to find like where you agreed, where it was different, stuff like that. It was pretty good. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I mean, you probably love comedy movies, right?
I like doing comedy, but comedy movies, like what comedy movies are actually funny?
Well, let's see. I mean,
besides Elf.
Well, let's see. One that you were in called Animal House. I still think it's the funniest comedy of all time.
Yeah, I get it. But you're a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, but it's like it's big boffo fart joke boy stuff to me.
Yeah.
You know, frat boy. I mean, it was funny at the time, and and it's a great movie.
Yeah.
But like, that's not my style so much.
Right.
I don't know, comedy wise.
Yeah, I mean, remember It's a Mad, 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 Mad World?
Yes.
That's funny.
That was good.
Yeah.
That's funny. And why can't I think of it? Oh, well, who knows? I'll think of it.
Okay.
But yeah, some of those absurd ones are funny. I was a big fan of Buster Keaton.
Oh,
so
yeah.
see, I was always weird, but I lived in this super great time when you could still see some of that stuff in the movie houses.
Yeah.
And Bill Paxton was a good friend of mine and a very big Keaton fan.
Yeah.
So we would sneak off to East Hollywood and go to some, Keaton fest in some janky little theater with, that the feet stick to the floor. So, yeah, there was some of that. So anyway, it was kind of cool because I feel like I grew up in this great little pocket in this great little area. So there was a lot of access to old things. In Hollywood, Schwab's was still open. The movies hadn't changed so much. They were going to change very quickly, but they hadn't at the time. And so, Ted Turner hadn't bought MGM yet, and we weren't on the rise of cable and all the other things that came, which benefit us now, but at the time it was rocking the industry. So yeah, you could go to the Fox in Venice, or you could go to the other one in Santa Monica, and you could see every night they just had an old classic film. So
it seems to me that if it wasn't for cable and Ted Turner and all those musicals from way back when being shown, I don't think MGM would have survived, because there was a good 20, 30 years where almost every movie MGM was putting out just barely broke even. They weren't having box office smashes because they were competing with all the other studios, Yep.
And that's when my dad retired. He goes, I don't know what's going to happen with this industry. I'm set to retire. I'm young. I'm healthy. I'm out of here. But the other thing, too, let's talk about musicals, because that's another thing. What were your what musicals influenced you?
Oh, I love The Sound of Music. That was the first one I can remember that I fell in love with. I love My Fair Lady. I love West Side Story. Even movies that they're not they're not like based on Broadway musicals, but they still are musicals. Like I love Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I consider that a musical. The Blues Brothers, I consider a musical. You know, stuff like that.
So for me, the musicals that I wore the grooves off the record were definitely Sound of Music and Jesus Christ Superstar when I was old.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And Funny Girl.
Yeah.
And Funny Girl. And so when I look at it now as a contemplative older woman, I look and I go, wow, so Jesus Christ Superstar really influenced your understanding of politics and religion.
Yes.
Funny Girl really led you down the path of dysfunctional relationships with and Sound of Music really taught me, about goats and Nazis. And so all in all, I learned everything I need from music.
Yeah. Oh, you know what my favorite Barbra Streisand movie is?
What?
Remember What's Up, Doc?
Yeah, Peter Bogdanovich.
Yeah, I love that movie. To me, it's the most funniest G-rated comedy ever made. I mean, it's genuinely hysterical. I can turn it on. I know every line. I can just quote it backwards. It's one of those movies that impacted me at an early age.
Oh. I don't remember that. We saw a lot of Woody Allen. Woody Allen was something that when I was probably in high school or something, my family would go and see a Woody Allen movie. And I remember, or Mel Brooks, and I remember my mom, like I don't remember hearing my mother laugh so hard as when we were in those movies. And it was very, we weren't a big, like, let's do a family thing. So if we went, if we all went to the movies together, that was a big deal.
Yeah, Woody Allen, I love his movies up until Zelig, and then after that, it just seems like all he's been trying to do is top himself every time with, getting artsy. But, I wasn't a big fan of Take the Money and Run when I was younger. Maybe if I saw it now, I'd appreciate it more. But, starting from Bananas all the way till Zelig, I think those movies are all genius.
I don't remember Zelig. I probably didn't see it. But I think, as much as I do not admire him as a person, and I think he's just rather, I don't know, I'll keep my adjectives to myself.
Yeah.
But as a filmmaker, he's certainly got a canon that is, come on, Midnight in Paris?
Yeah.
Best movie ever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Sleeper guy and a big Annie Hall guy. Annie Hall's my favorite rom-com, I'll tell you, of all time.
I can't remember which I watched recently, either Annie Hall or Manhattan, and it was good, but I enjoyed it a lot. And Hannah and Her Sisters and all that, but I haven't really watched Woody Allen except for Midnight in Paris and Barcelona.
When I was 14, I went into my mom's dresser and I found a copy of that book, Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Sex But Were Afraid to Ask. And I read it, and then I saw the movie that Woody made, and oh my God, I see the parallels, with the Freudian Victorian era myths about sex and the wives' tales and all of that stuff, and I just think Woody did a brilliant job with the movie.
Yeah, I found that book too in my mom's drawer. I was a bit younger.
Well, that was when it first came out.
And I was like...
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, this looks like this looks a damn sight better than Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah.
I guess it would be like, okay.
Yeah, Mel Brooks, oh my God. So, he's getting the honorary Oscar next year, and he's going to be 98, I believe, next year. I think he's long overdue. I love all the early stuff. after Spaceballs, I do think like Life Stinks is a great movie about the homeless situation, and I like Robin Hood and Dracula, Dead and Loving It. I don't think that should have been his last movie, though. I think he should have done at least one more to go out on top.
I haven't seen a Mel Brooks movie for a long time.
I love Young Frankenstein. I think it's a masterpiece. And Blazing Saddles, people talk about how problematic it is nowadays and stuff. I still think it holds up as one of the greats.
Well, one of the difficult things I think we have right now is that it's great it is great and very important to look at prior eras' behavior and say this is not okay.
Yeah.
But and Blazing Saddles looks super racist. And hold on. But the thing is, I don't know how we do this. I don't know how it's kind of like when Me Too came out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of women had just felt that, what happened to them wasn't what happened to me wasn't as bad as anything else. It wasn't what happened. And we kind of downplayed it or kept it to ourselves because, unless something seriously, like you were raped or you were molested or something, the rest of it is just how men behaved and how women, I don't know. We kind of thought like, guy grabbing my ass on the subway.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's just part of being a woman, and so we can't really. Let's see.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things that, but the same's true in theater. We've had to make decisions in theater about what words would be said. In like Little Foxes and stuff. Do we do it? Do we stick to it? Do we use that N-word and then that's really the director's call. But it's good to see how much times have changed.
Yeah, my friend Julia Montgomery, who was in Revenge of the Nerds, there's that infamous scene where Robert Carradine, pretty much rapes her with that Darth Vader mask on, and then she likes it, and she falls in love with him. She, her and I are both on the same page about this. We think that the joke is hilarious because it's unexpected, but we both wish that she had had some dialogue earlier in the movie that hinted that she liked him. Otherwise, it sends out that wrong message.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. There was no context.
Right.
There was no context for it. But I don't know. It's like, things have just changed in terms of what we accept, and I think that's really good. I think we have to keep speaking up because, like what people call, people are like, that's a Me Too moment. I'm like, we call that job security.
Yeah, exactly. Do you like Neil Simon?
I like Neil Simon. I like Neil Simon. I haven't seen him for so long, but I did get a chance to go see Plaza Suite at the Arvada Center for the Arts and Humanities, and I was just gobsmacked at how much I adored it. Now, the acting couple was very, very skilled, very beautiful with their comedy. But I was like, oh my God, like a lot of stuff like that, when it was coming out, it might not have interested me. Because like I said, I was into for a lot of my life. I spent time in indie things and foreign things and different art and I kind of poo-pooed things that were more mainstream and, silly me. But I've caught up with a lot of it. But some of those things like, maybe I'll go home and watch Back to the Future tonight, or maybe I'll, pick up on this or that.
Yeah.
I remember living in New York, like things that seem to appeal to the masses in my little youthful snobbery
Mm-hmm.
I'm still a snob, so it didn't feel, you know, I remember when I lived in New York and everybody would be reading the brand new Stephen King novel, because in the olden days we had to bring giant books on the subway.
Right.
We couldn't just read them on our phone. And so everybody would be reading whatever it was, Pet Sematary or Cujo or whatever. And I remember thinking, you know, at this time though, I'm reading like Dostoevsky and thinking, oh, these peasants. And then when I read my first Stephen King book, I was like, oh, damn, he knows how to write.
Yeah.
So, you know, I caught up with myself and my naive, my judgy, snobby self. But hopefully that's what we do as we get older. Our tastes develop or undevelop, or, you know. So, but I kind of feel like there's a lot of stuff, you know, you can only focus on so much at a time, right?
Absolutely. Our brains can absorb only so much information. It's like a thumb drive, you know, for a computer.
Right. Now, how much? Yeah, you got to clear your space. So, tell me about TV, because we were talking earlier about TV shows that influenced you.
Yes. So I remember starting at like 3 or 4. But by the way, I did the math. My dad's about 6 months older than you, Tracy, and we would. Oh,
great! Thanks. I feel really good now, Tommy.
We'd watch shows.
At least
from
you
his
didn't
childhood.
say your grandpa.
Yeah, we watched shows from his childhood, right? On TBS Superstation, we would see Leave It to Beaver, The Munsters, The Addams Family, those Friz Freleng cartoons of the Pink Panther, the Inspector, the Ant and the Aardvark, and then this was during the day. At nighttime, we turned on Nick at Night. We'd watch The Monkees, The Donna Reed Show, The Many Lives of Dobie Gillis. What was that one? Oh, Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp. Remember that one?
I remember that.
Yeah.
We were so stupid.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Can you imagine nowadays? Oh, God, people would be up in arms if they, trained animals to do that stuff, you know?
So, okay, there we go.
Uh-huh.
Hang on. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. So I was thinking about this with, there was a show on when I was a kid. Now, when I was in probably second, I remember the summer between second and third grade, or maybe, yeah, I think it was even before that. Mm-hmm. I remember, like, Dobie Gillis was kind of my brother's show.
Yeah.
And my brother was 11 years older. So he watched Dobie, and he watched, well, when he was little, he watched Howdy Doody.
Mm-hmm. And
I don't remember that. But so my morning shows when I was a kid were like Captain Kangaroo.
Oh, yeah.
And then, and Romper Room.
Yep.
And I remember those. But when I got into, like I said, I'd say about second grade, I was the walking TV guide. I knew what night it was on, when it showed, when blah, 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 blah. Now, there are other things I believe, like Prince versus Michael Jackson. It's either Munsters or Addams Family.
Right.
Which one were you?
I see. I like the Addams Family a little bit more because Jackie Coogan was hilarious as Uncle Fester, and John Astin was a scream with those wild eyes.
I think Addams Family was masterful, and I feel like the Munsters was just kind of a copy, a little over the top copy.
Yeah.
The only thing I liked about the Munsters, I don't know, Yvonne DiCarlo.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
Although Lily Munster's hair was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then there was something on, check this out. So then there was this time there, and it must have been CBS because it was Beverly Hillbillies and Gilligan's Island, although I don't know if Gilligan was on CBS.
That was.
Okay, so Gilligan's Island, and then there was a thing, and it was probably only on one season, might have been 2, called The Pruitts of Southampton.
Huh. I never saw that
and it starred Phyllis Diller.
Oh.
Well, I remember the theme song, right? Since I knew all the theme songs. So, Fruits of Southampton was basically Schitt's Creek with Phyllis Diller.
Wow.
It was about the Pruitts, they were rich and then they got broke and they were trying to run from the IRS and blah, blah, blah. And when I was watching Schitt's Creek, I was like, this is kind of familiar. Oh, Phyllis Diller. Ha, ha, ha.
Oh my God, Phyllis Diller was great. Just she had what a lot of comedians lack today: self-effacing humor. It seems like no one's that self-effacing as much as anymore. Do
you think? I think Amy Schumer's a little self-effacing.
A little bit, yeah.
Not to the. I mean, Phyllis Diller did it all with a wink.
Well, Amy Schumer thinks that she's hotter than she actually is.
Actually, I would say it differently. This is what I like about Amy Schumer. She is claiming her hotness and asking you to, show me that I'm wrong.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because because this is the thing. This is the thing that I love about Amy Schumer. So you've got Chelsea Handler, who's absolutely beautiful and a very, very smart and very good comedian.
Right.
And then you've got Amy Schumer, who's not very beautiful. She is a very normal American woman, right?
Right.
Millions and millions and millions of us look just like that. And Amy Schumer goes, it's not up to you to decide that I'm hot. That's up to me.
Oh.
And that is, I think that is so much healthier than, it's easy when you're pretty or beautiful to just you have, and I'm not saying it's easy because not that I know, but I mean there are things that society puts on women that we're all faced with. So beautiful women I know have had just as hard a time as pretty women, as normal, plain women, big women, little women, all kinds of things. We all kind of go through the same. It's all a relationship with what culture is telling us we're supposed to be. And so I love that Amy Schumer just went, I think I'm hot, and you go ahead, prove me wrong. Because, So, and I like that, I also like that they cast her in things that I've liked that she's been cast in movies that would have gone to a Jennifer Aniston or a Melanie Griffith in the olden days. And I think that, I think Jennifer Aniston is fabulous. I think she's a great comedian, and I like what she stands for as a human being. But I think she's just a pretty American girl. I don't think she's any great beauty. She's that's just my opinion. But I know people who are like, oh my God, she's the most beautiful woman in the world. And I go, great. Well, let's look at Amy Schumer like that, or let's look at Kathy Bates like that. Let's look at anybody like that. We get it. Some people are just, is Margot Robbie more beautiful than Jennifer Lawrence? Well, yes and no. Yes and no. So.
Yeah. Did you have comedy records growing up?
We had Bill Cosby, and we had Stan Freeman.
Freberg,
thank you. Yeah. Stan Freberg. And that was probably it on the comedy records.
My mom, she had the first comedy record I ever heard. Lily Tomlin's This Is a Recording.
Oh, I never heard that one.
Oh, it was great. It's on YouTube. She does this one bit where she calls Joan Crawford, and she's like, hello, Mrs. Crawford. The Coca-Cola Company would like to speak with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Cheech and Chong's Big Bamboo, but the wrapping paper was smoked already. I love George Carlin's AM and FM. That was great.
We did have Carlin. Yep.
Yeah.
We definitely had Carlin. Yeah, we did. And it's funny to think of sitting and listening to a comedy album now. We don't think about that, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah, people did it in those days. I mean, you mentioned Cosby. People used to listen to his Chicken Heart bit, or My Brother Russell, To Whom I Slept With, or the one where he's talking about race carring with Steve McQueen. That was a funny one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember the first pop music album you ever bought with your own money?
First pop music. Well, first album I bought was Cream, but I don't know why I bought it because I didn't really know their music. But then I, that was good. But because I had older siblings, there was so much music in our house all the time. And my brother had absolutely everything from the 60s and 70s, and so did my mom. So we had everything from everything. We had everything. And then my brother taught me, he and I were secret best friends. He taught me how to put the needle on correctly.
Yeah.
And once I learned how to clean the album and not touch it and put it back in, and he was fully trained on the secret stealth art of playing a record album, then I was able to go in and listen to anything in his.
Do you remember which Cream album it was? Was it Wheels of Fire?
No, I have no idea. It was probably the best of Cream because that's me being practical as a small Virgo child. I was probably thinking, well, if I probably will get more. It's probably better for me to get the best of. Then I'm not wasting money on tracks that nobody listens to.
Yeah, or Traffic, The Little Spark of High Heeled Boys. My dad had that record.
I remember that one. Oh, that's a beautiful, beautiful.
They were a great
song.
band. They were a really great band. Yeah, I remember my grandmother gave me money for my 8th birthday, and I bought Phil Collins' No Jacket Required because I used to watch the videos on MTV. I loved all the songs. And then Poison's Look What the Cat Dragged In. Those were my first 2 CD albums in 1991.
Yeah, I never did. I never got into things like Poison. I was into New Wave and Bowie and Storytellers also.
Yeah, I'm a big New Wave guy of the 80s because I used to watch VH1 the big 80s. That's where I discovered the Go-Go's, and I never in a million years thought I'd interview the drummer twice. It's just one of the most surreal things of my life, I'll tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember the first concert you ever went to?
First concert I ever went to we went and saw Judy Collins at a community college, went with my family. I mean, my mom and my sister and stuff. And then I think the first concert I remember going to was Jethro Tull when I was a sophomore in high school with my sister and her husband at the time. And that was the first time I tried the marijuana.
Oh.
So that was the first one I remember.
Yeah.
And then I went to Bowie in 72, I think.
Ooh,
at
72
with I think he was at Santa Monica.
Yeah.
Santa Monica Civic Auditorium. So, yep.
I think that's where he
Yep.
That's where he filmed the concert movie in 73. Maybe he was there twice. But that was the Ziggy tour. It was huge at the time. Everyone was like, "Who is this guy?" And then he's a rock god all of a sudden.
Well, I remember that's when I fell in love with David Bowie, and I remember the guy that took me was a guy I was pining over, and I think I left him in the dust, and was just like. I felt the rapture of Bowie. And then the same thing when my high school boyfriend took me to see Queen. And we were 10 rows from the front. And I was like, who knew what Freddie Mercury was about? But it was just jaw dropping. So I like the people. I always liked the artists that told you that you could be different than the mainstream.
I saw Steppenwolf when I was 15 at our local fair, and John Kay was the only original member, and it was great. And then 2 years later, I saw Alice Cooper, and that was friggin' exciting. He did like one or two.
I saw Alice Cooper.
Yeah, he did like one or two songs from almost every album he ever recorded, except for those ones where he was all fucked up on. But like, it was just he is such a showman, Alice. I'll tell you.
So he did the Eras tour before Taylor Swift had a chance to.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
a little
so.
something from each era. Yeah, I had a lot of concert stuff because I worked at the Roxy.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw everybody that was there. I worked at the Roxy and then I became the waitress for the bands. So I saw people I didn't even know that I should see. You know, like Gil Scott-Heron. I would never have seen Gil Scott-Heron if I didn't work at the Roxy. And just really super Muddy Waters, George Duke, everybody. So that was really good. So, you know, you when you look backward, you see how forward you were.
Real quick, Tracy.
Yeah.
You know, it's the 40th anniversary of Trading Places, and you know how much I love that movie as well. Can you believe it's been 40 years?
That's such a weird concept. Like, I remember the first time I had a friend that I was like, that's been my friend for 10 years. Oh my God, I'm old enough to have a friend for 10 years.
Yeah.
And now to think about something being like, I did that 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. And in some ways it's like another lifetime. So, yeah.
Last year, I saw Nicholas Guest and his wife do a Zoom podcast, and he talked about the movie and shooting that scene where you're all at the club, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, and also back in March, I interviewed this guy, Frank Morris. He won an Oscar for directing this short cartoon film. You probably remember it. It used to be on PBS back in the 70s. It was called Frank Film. Yeah, all it is like his chattering, echoey voice with all these crazy, surreal animation images. And so he directed this movie in the 80s called Beginner's Luck. It's about swinger couples. And he told me he got the idea after hanging out at Kelly Curtis's house. She had some friends there who were like swingers, and he thought they were so interesting, he turned it into a script. And I think he had met Tony Curtis at that Oscar ceremony when he won in '74 or something. He became friends with the family. Yeah, so I thought that would be a funny little anecdote to tell you.
Right. Yeah, it was good. It was good, that movie.
It's a timeless classic that holds up. Michelle Mays, who played one of the hookers in the movie, I had her on a couple of years ago. I'm having her back on this upcoming Tuesday, and going to talk about it some more then. And I'm curious to know, Tracy, do you have any upcoming new projects?
Well, I finally wrote a piece for myself.
Nice.
I've written plays for other people, and I have performed in other people's plays. But this year I wrote, based on the book that I've been working on, or that I say the book that I'm not writing, I wrote a one-woman show, and I did it at the Denver Fringe Festival, and I got a prize. I got a little prize.
Yeah.
And now I was going to write another one-person show because I really love that medium. It's so much fun. And I'm going to take the one that I have called Spontaneous Dance Party. I'm taking it to the Edinburgh Fringe in August. And so that's all I'm focused on right now, is finishing the book and getting a few performances. I'm meeting with a theater company here that has some interest in doing a run of it, which would be really great if I could do a run before I left for Scotland. That would be awesome. So yeah, that's my focus right now.
That is so fantastic. I hope I know it'll turn out well for you, because everything you do is just fantastic. And
thank you. Well, listen, if I get it videoed, I'll send you the Vimeo link.
Oh, that would be fabulous. Here, I got a couple Christmas jokes for you.
Okay.
Why are Christmas trees better than men?
Why are Christmas trees better than men? Are we talking the plastic ones or the fresh ones? And I mean the men.
Either way.
I don't know.
Even the smaller ones give that satisfaction.
Yeah, okay.
Why did Santa Claus divorce Mrs. Claus?
I don't know.
He was obsessed with getting the cookie.
Oh.
Bad. Evil.
I know, right?
Tracy, thank you so much for coming on, and I just adore you so much, and I hope you have a great holiday season. Be safe out there. You know, keep kicking ass with your projects. Oh, and by the way, if you get a chance, when you check your DM box, look for Greg Gilbert. He's a friend of mine with a podcast. He'd like to interview you.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you. You too. Congratulations on the move to Modesto.
May
you find something there. And happy holidays.
Thank you, hon. Blessings to you.
All righty. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Tracy Shaffer. I just adore her. Isn't she a sweetheart? I love her so much. She's fabulous. I'm so glad that we could nerd out today and have a great conversation there. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.